Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the Audience Development Through Tech panel. My name is Parag Bhandari. I'm CEO and founder of UG Strategies. We are a entertainment marketing and branding development agency out of New York, specializing in festivals, artist development, etc. Joined by a pretty amazing list of panelists here today. I'll briefly introduce them and then perhaps ask them to talk about their festival properties, and we can get started. First, Richard Marshall with United Agency. Please. Jason Mayall with Fuji Rock Festival. Philippe Siegenthaler with Estereo Picnic. And Ventura Barba with Sonar. Ow. So again, thank you for joining us today. I thought a good way to maybe start this panel is to briefly talk about your basic practices when it talks about digital marketing, specifically social media and mobile, and how that is building your festival brand. And then from there, maybe we can talk about a few other things.
Okay. Everybody hear me okay? Can I first of all say what a nice audience you are? Thanks for clapping, everybody. Don't normally get that at these conferences. First of all, let me give you a very brief introduction to me. So I'm co-CEO of United Agency, a social and digital marketing agency in London. I think the first thing I want to say maybe is just that I started off this whole career of mine as a music fan who used to hitchhike around the UK to get into crazy shows and never thought it would lead to a job and end up having a whole career out of it. And for the last 5 years of my career, since we set up United Agency, I did a quick calculation. We've marketed 20 different festivals around the world. This year alone, we've marketed festivals in England, in France, in Switzerland, Turkey, and Israel. And essentially, festivals come to us and hire us to sell tickets, to build a digital brand strategy, a communication strategy, which will get them a foothold in the market and ensure that they become a successful festival. And one of the new festivals that we launched in the last 18 months in the UK won the Best New Festival Award at the UK Festival Awards, which is a festival called We Are Festival. I know some of the guys have got some videos to show. I don't have that for right now, but essentially, that's the kind of thing that we do, and we try and get our clients to number one in the marketplace. What we do.
Jason.
I guess maybe some of you know about Fuji Rock Festival in Japan. We began in 1997. We're a company based in Japan. I run the London office. I joined the company in 92, 5 years before we started the festival. It was a dream of ours after going to Glastonbury to make something that was, up in the mountains, camping, lots of great bands. Everyone said it couldn't be done, and 18 years later, we're still doing it. It's not as easy as it sounds, putting a big festival on, but I think with the audience that we have, that is basically a hardcore audience, and that audience, I must say, was built upon maybe this sort of mad sort of digital platform where I wouldn't say it's marketed as such. We have what we call a Fuji Rockers org, and the Fuji Rock core audience we've developed since 1997, when it was kind of before Facebook, before all these social media platforms, and we started off by ride sharing. So it was like, it was a group of people who got together to say, we'll go to the first Fuji Rock Festival and we'll share the ride, we'll share a car. And what we did was we had a ribbon system whereby if you wore the ribbon, you were part of that Fuji Rockers core internet group. So when you got to the festival and you saw other people with the ribbon, wearing a little ribbon, you were like, oh, these are on the internet. These people are into the hardcore audience. So that's now developed into the Fuji Rockers fan base, and also the Fuji Rock Express, where we have 50, maybe I think it's 70 journalists and photographers taking photographs and reporting live on every single stage as it happens at the festival. We're not doing it like a live streaming with video, but there's photographs, there's reports, so that even if you're not at Fuji Rock Festival, if you go to Fuji Rock Express, you'll find all the information about what stage is happening, what's happening right now, see the pictures and so on. So it's a kind of, it is a network of fans. So I think that Fuji Rock, with our Fuji Rockers, has been something that we should be proud of, and it's something we're hoping to build upon, so that you don't have to just be in Japan to be a Fuji Rocker, but you can be a Fuji Rock fan anywhere in the world.
Sure.
Well, on our side, we're a festival based in Colombia, in South America. We did the 5th version of Estereo Picnic this year in the month of April. We do it always since the 2nd version with the Lollapaloozas in the region, meaning we are routing kind of at the same time and doing actually and working together with the Lolas that they are doing now, Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. So we're kind of the 4th festival of that route of festivals in South America. It's for sure the smallest one, because Bogota is also like the smallest market of those 4. It's a festival that has an attendance of 50,000 people on the whole weekend, 28,000 unique visitors a year. And well, we're in the middle of the planning of next year. That we're going to do that at the beginning of March. So planning the 6th year for 2015. And in terms of digital live, we've been like growing also with the growth of the festival as itself. We began very small. I mean, the first year that we did Estereo Picnic was a festival for 2,500 people, and well, nowadays we have this bunch of kids wanting to go to the festival. Last year we sold, for example, 4,000 tickets outside of Bogota, meaning almost 10% of people, not only in Colombia, but also like in the region of Región Andina, which is the region of the north of South America, which is Ecuador, Venezuela, and Peru. All those kids, or a bunch of kids from that region, wanted to go to the festival, and that has for sure an appealing through the digital live, where we are like growing a lot in terms of consumption in the things that we've been doing in terms of the digital live. We just launched for the first time this year an app which had a huge actually success. We had almost like 22,000 kids like downloading the app, meaning almost the same amount of people like downloading the app than people like going to the show. So for sure, it's the digital part is something that we are like trying to increase, but for sure not forgetting the main our main goal that is like to bring people to the festivals itself. No?
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I see many familiar faces here, so thanks for coming. I represent Sonar. I guess some of you know this festival. We have been doing this music festival since, well, this year we're going to celebrate the second to anniversary, so since '94. We somehow discovered that what we were doing in Barcelona was meaningful for a global audience, and I'm talking about a time where no Facebook, no Twitter, no anything were existing, but we developed a network of people, of ambassadors that were like evangelists, the audience through Europe and through the world, spreading the word of Sonar. So we end up of a festival that half of the attendance was from non-Spanish people, and that was before low-cost airplanes were taken in Europe. So it was quite a hard work. At that time, in 2002, we began doing events and festivals all over the world. Since all these years, we have been doing 50 festivals in different cities of the world. Next year or this year, we're going to be in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Reykjavik, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Tokyo, Bogota, Santiago de Chile, and a few others. So it's becoming not just a series of festivals, but a ecosystem or a platform of events that all work together in the same way. This journey couldn't exist without technology, and terms as globalization and people, audience that somehow look the same or have the same feelings, have the same needs, no matter they live in Tokyo, Sao Paulo, or New York. So I think for a non-Anglo-Saxon culture like us, the term globalization has been a good thing. So I'm a optimistic, a digital optimistic myself, but having said that, there is no other way to feel what a music festival is than being in the festival. I mean, you cannot experience anything closer to that, not watching videos, no seeing posts, no seeing Twitter. So the strong asset that music festivals have, or festivals or concerts, like you need to be there to experience collectively the magic. So I think it's good to use this technology, but nothing can replace being in a festival.
Sure.
That's as a principle, just to leave it.
Fantastic. No, this is great because we truly do have a global representation of festivals, not just geographically, but also by mindset. And we've got two OGs here. We got Fuji and we got Sonar that have been doing it for close to 2 decades, if not more. And I would like to obviously talk about the globalization of festivals and how technology is playing a role. But first and foremost, maybe both of you can talk about how you've grown your brand without technology, or without at least technology like social media and mobile. And as those technologies have increased over the past 8 to 10 years, how has that changed your strategy to continue not just developing your footprint in your market, but also potentially taking your festival brand worldwide, which I believe you're starting to do. I'm not sure if you are or not. So maybe we can talk about that first. How have you been building your brand without this technology, and how has it affected your growth plans?
Well, I guess Fuji Rock, being based in Japan, it's very Japan-centric, and it's a very expensive country to get to. So our audience is 98% Japanese. And the foreigners that do come are quite small, but it's Australian, New Zealanders, Singapore, Korea, and some from China, basically localized countries. So it's almost, it doesn't make sense to start promoting Fuji Rock Festival to a Spanish audience or an English audience, because you've got all the festivals, you've got the same bands. The only thing that you've got different in Japan is you've got nice raw fish and Japanese people and beautiful scenery and all of that. So we want to promote the fact that the experience that you get at Glastonbury, of a bit of mud, the smell of the toilets, that kind of
all the good
camaraderie, the tents, the face paint, the getting dirty, not having a bath for 3 days. That's the sort of thing I want to share with the Japanese kids and say, look, hey Japanese kids, this is loads of fun. Instead of going all the way to Glastonbury to get it, why don't you come out to Fuji Rock and get the same thing? Don't have a bath for 3 days.
But in a lot of ways, you've taken that experience that Japanese...
So for me, it's most important that people put their laptops down and put their phones down and actually come out and experience it. And in the last 10 years, 15 years with technology, it's become increasingly harder to get kids off their phones and off their apps to go and see a live show. They spend so much money on their telephones and their new technologies and a new iPhone 6 we all need, and I need the iPad 2 Air now, and I need the iPad 3 Air now. And so they spend all their money on that, and it leaves very little extra to actually go out and experience things properly, And I'd just rather people would, maybe stick with an iPhone 3 like I've got. I haven't moved up to, I got iPhone 3. It's very slow and it's useless. Piece of shit, but it works.
It's pretty rare.
I get emails on it, but I want people to go out and experience, tent life, and a bit of rain, and I think seeing bands, as you say, with an amazing sound system. You hear something on your laptop or on your headphones, it's not the same as on a Clare Brothers amazing sound system, or Turbo One bang sound system with the light show and standing next to people that are getting that magic. As he says, it's the magic that we've got to get people to realize what it is to go to a festival. Put your laptops down and just go out and get a sleeping bag and enjoy yourselves.
But clearly, nothing replaces going to a festival.
Nothing can
replaces
replace
that
it.
subwoofer
As much
cooking
as
your
the
breakfast
technology
again.
comes
But
to
in order to get people to experience exactly what you're talking about, which I couldn't agree with more, you have to have technology. You have to have at least that kid looking at his laptop and seeing like, wow, I want to see that. So how have you changed your approach from getting the very organic sort of, I just want to go to festivals
I'm trying to think of ways now of selling tickets that are easier. So in other words, it's a very high ticket price. So is there a way of doing a student ticket price which is paid off monthly by monthly, like a higher purchase ticket? So by July comes around, your ticket's paid for. Or trying to make it easier for people to buy tickets, because it's a very expensive ticket, and to save the money, and most people aren't good at saving money.
Payment plans is
on
probably
a
one of the
ticket might be
best
a good
things in
idea for us to
technology
do.
that have happened in the past 5-6 years, allowing kids to do just that. Perhaps you can maybe comment on some of your approaches with Sonar. Again, just because you two have the experience of festivals that weren't so technology driven. You guys, retail stores and flyers and just getting the word out and building that brand organically. Now you have this additional tool to do just that, if not more.
When we began, there was no technology whatsoever. But I think now in a way it's easier or it's cheaper, because you can have access to people no matter where they are. So you can actually market to anywhere in the world. It's cheaper. You don't have to buy like traditional media, which was super expensive and not affordable for us. We do not do TV. We don't do like mainstream media, but we can do a Facebook little campaign. So in that way, it's easier, it's cheaper, but on the other hand, it's more complicated. We're in a world that I have like millions of followers, but hey, what I'm doing with those, right? So we are in the moment of like, yeah, I have a lot of followers, but what does this mean? Because at the end of the day, we all want to sell tickets. We don't want to have a legion of people following us and have the obligation of the duty of streaming videos, content. We are not a content makers. We do festivals. So we are in that time of that period that we need to really understand how to use these new technologies.
That's a really great point. The differences between festivals and content makers. What you just said is exactly true with a lot of festivals, and this is a great way to segment to you guys. Marketing festivals through content is becoming so important, but then how do you manage marketing the content of the festival and keeping the integrity of a festival? And you dealing with a lot of this, you work with a lot of different festivals specifically for marketing and selling tickets. How do you balance the two? How do you balance content and the ultimate goal of selling tickets? And then how does technology play a role in that?
Well, I think that's interesting to look at the fan perspective of technology and festival going. That's one way of looking at this whole sector. Then there's the approach from a promoter who's got to sell tickets. Some promoters, if you're like a Coachella, the tickets just go. They've got Glastonbury, they sell. Not everybody's in that unique position. I know festival brands in the UK, which I won't mention, that have been in that position before, and then 2014, that's no longer the case. And I would look at those brands and say they perhaps haven't taken on board the latest developments in digital and social media, which again, as Ventura says, these platforms allow an incredible, efficient way of reaching fans to sell tickets, because if a festival doesn't sell those tickets, they go out of business. So to answer the question about content strategies, each festival is unique. Each festival will have its own approach to content, but we live in a world where if you're a music artist, or if you're an event promoter, you're a festival, you're always on. You've got a fan base which is checking your content 365 days of the year, and whilst maybe one promoter, maybe Sonar, doesn't want to be in the content business to always publish that kind of content, other promoters will take a different perspective and will understand that by investing in that kind of approach, there is a reward by communicating 365 days of the year, not just maybe the weekend the festival is on. There's a reward by doing that.
Ultra Music Festival.
Yeah, exactly. So if I look at the last 5 years of marketing that we've done, when I go to a festival, 2-3 years ago, we would always have a team, like 15 of our staff from the office, sitting in a porter cabin behind the scenes. We're capturing content. We've got photographers running around the event. We've got people tweeting on Facebook, on all the different platforms, publishing content to the 30,000 people in the field, but also to maybe the 100,000 people who are not in the room, who are not in at the event, who maybe want to buy a ticket for next year, or have the what we call FOMO. I don't know how FOMO translates into Spanish, but fear of missing out is what we call it. And that's a huge part of the kind of psychology of social media marketing with festivals. And so now, in 2014, often what I'll be doing is I'll be sitting backstage doing a live stream of the show. So that's a huge investment for a festival like Ultra or Tomorrowland, where a promoter makes a decision to, okay, we understand it's all about being in the field, in the city, or under the mountain, and that it's about the real experience, but there's a real benefit by also being able to broadcast that to millions of people around the world, and festival promoters are taking that choice, and we certainly see the reward in that. I was at a huge gig in New York 10 days ago doing exactly that, where we had 13,000 people bought a ticket for the event. We managed to sell those tickets in 12 hours through a marketing campaign 6 months earlier. We had 100,000 people tuning into the live stream when it actually happened during the evening. And then we uploaded a highlights clip last Wednesday, and already 150,000 people have watched that. And so I see a real value in investing that kind of content, because even though most of those people weren't in the room on the night, they will want to be there the next time that show happens. And I think it's a cycle, and it's a loop that does all come back to the actual earthy experience of the toilets and the smell and the experience.
So I think Glastonbury's biggest asset right now is the BBC. I mean, as you're saying, if you want to experience Glastonbury, you can't buy a ticket. The fear of missing out, watch it on telly, watch it on iPlayer, watch it on, a stream you can stream for a year. You can watch every single band at Glastonbury. Now, in 1992, I went there with a crew of 15 people and 11 cameras, and I filmed Glastonbury in 1992. And in 1994, that was for Japanese TV, no broadcast, that was the only broadcast of that year. And in 1994, Channel 4 was shown my documentary. They ended up going in there. They did it for 2 years, and then the BBC took over. And slowly, now there are over 500 BBC staff. Their investment in Glastonbury is in the millions. Millions and millions they pay Glastonbury Festival. And Glastonbury gets the credibility of the BBC broadcast.
Yeah.
So content, you've got a festival which is limited in size, Glastonbury. It's probably the biggest in the world as far as the most well-known festival in the world. But that doesn't compare to all the other festivals in the world, because Glastonbury is the only one that's got the BBC and that kind of coverage. So what you're saying about the smaller ones, getting a bit of content out there is very helpful. The films that I made of Fuji Rock in 99, 2001 and 2002 did a lot to put Fuji Rock on a world stage. Doing programs for the BBC, Channel 4, international programming. It was very important back then. Today, it's a different world completely.
Sure. In the Latin American market, how is content expanding your festival brand as you compete with other festival brands like Lollapalooza?
Yeah, I would say, especially in Colombia, we're far way behind. Also, comparing for sure other Latin American countries, because we have total different goals from perhaps you guys now thinking about the festivals, because a bunch of festivals are like selling out around the world, and then those guys are like thinking about okay, what can I do more to make money beside the ticket sales. On our case is we have like our first goal is to actually get the kids to know what a festival is. It's not that that usual. In the last like 20 years, we had a big festival in Colombia called Rock al Parque, but it was a free entry event. So kids got used to not to pay to go to a festival. So we had to go into the market, and we were fans too, and we had like that. Almost like common sense of not wanting to pay for even for a show, for a music concert. So that is and was our first goal in the last years, having a bit like the digital life like on the side, because we had like to get the kids to know what a festival is. In that sense, it's very interesting how we actually made our investments in terms of promotion, because we have a bunch of like kids going to the internet to see what happens to Estereo Picnic and actually to our brand, but we are unfortunately like spending a minimum amount in internet, because on the other side and on the other goal that we have to go to get sponsors and local sponsors to make it like profitable, the whole business. Those guys are in a way older guys, and they're like still like looking into the traditional medias to go and the approach. We go and like and try to do like things, not even in Facebook and Twitter, also like original things, and they're like expecting we go to the traditional medias like newspapers, like radio stations, like television, to go and do marketing, and that's also like a very like tough thing to do for us. So we're trying to build up in a way that the establishment is going right now, which is like innovation and going with the digital kind of thing. But we have like something still romantic on the whole thing that we're doing, and it's the basic of doing the show and doing like the basic festival thing, which is like on the ground, and it's on the organic thing, and not as much as in the internet and in the digital life.
Yeah, this is a great debate right here, because we're basically talking about like we've got the chicken and the egg. We've got the festival itself, and we've got the content. And to your point, and I really do agree with what you're saying, and with both of you, it's like, what's the point of having great content if there's no great festival, right? And what's the point of having a great festival if no one else can see it and witness it? And we're talking about the people who can't buy tickets. So I think either way, whether you're investing heavily in festival technology or not, or if you're worried more about production, both goals are a positive and awesome experience, so that either I'm going to buy tickets this year or I'm going to come back next year because I saw a video of Above and Beyond. I was like, oh my God, I needed to be there. Some of the festivals that we're working with now, like Tomorrowworld, one point that you made before was that a lot of the same performances are the same at each different festival, and that's true. But I saw a video of Tomorrowworld with the stage the size of 3 times the size of this room, and I'm like, I gotta check that out. Like, I want to go to Tomorrowworld because of that production, because of the production you're doing at Sonar. I want to go there. The only reason I saw that is because I saw a videotape on YouTube, right? So there is that balancing act of how do we focus on the production and the integrity of our actual brand, and how do we let everyone else know about it so that they can buy tickets to either Sonar in Barcelona or when you go to Latin America down there. How do you get the Latin American market to know how awesome your festival is? How did you get Japan to do that, before it got started?
I think our work is make our festivals unique. I think artists are all over, and if you check out the lineups of every single festival, probably more or less 50% of it are everywhere, right? The big festivals. So at least at Sonar, our work is make the unique experience. You go to Sonar, you don't go to to watch Pet Shop Boys or even Kraftwerk or whoever. I mean, when you are doing a good job is when people like go to Sonar because they want to experience the whole thing, which goes much beyond a single list of artists. That's our work. Otherwise, anyone could be doing a festival, right? It's not just putting one name after the other. And we are working, everything I do on a daily basis needs to match two things, or two or at least one. It's either selling tickets or building my brand. That's the only two things that I have to do in my daily work. If I do these two things, everything is going to be fine, right? So it needs to be very simple.
And I can say one thing, and we'll go to the next topic, but just from being in the American market, I've never been to Sonar, and I can't wait to go. You know, and I just know that I've heard that brand, same with Glastonbury, same with Fuji Rocks. Like, I just know these brands. I've never been to them, but I can't wait to go. And it's because you've built a brand. You've built a festival. You know, you got like other festivals in your market, like Primavera or whatever, and they're very similar, amazing festivals. But just like you said before, like I feel like if I didn't go to that festival, I wouldn't be really missing out because I got Coachella, I got Bonnaroo, I got Lollapalooza, I got my other ones. There is no other Sonar. There is no other Fuji Rocks. So you guys have succeeded in building that brand. And now I think you are, because you have those sort of marquee festival worldwide brands that are yours, you are going to have competition now as some of these other players come into the market. Now you look at some of this, let's go into globalization a little bit. So you look at festivals and companies like SFX and Live Nation buying everything up. All right, SFX is buying up everything, and they are bringing festival properties over to the States, like Tomorrowland and Mystery World and Tomorrowland. I think I switched those two. But there's one festival property that they've invested in called Hudson Project, which didn't really go off well for production reasons. And because they have the billions and billions of dollars to, you know, right the wrongs, and what happened basically was the third day got canceled, so they had to refund a whole, you know, everyone's ticket for Sunday. Now, as you are expanding your festival properties, now, how do you feel like these other major corporations and these sort of giant behemoths are coming in and buying these properties and taking them to other markets and trying to recreate that experience like an EDC in London or an EDC in Chicago or an EDC in Vegas? Go ahead.
At least on my side, I think I don't feel that I'm playing the same league as these guys. I do a little thing that it's very arts and craft in a way. It's very like our baby. And because it's very unique, it has the ability of expand because it's not a me too. I mean, if you want to experience Sonar, it doesn't mean to be the biggest or the nicest, it's a unique thing. So because if it's unique, it has this ability to travel because people from other different cities would like to experience the same thing. So having said that, we are not the Coca-Cola, right? So we don't have the same flower everywhere we go. So that's why we partner with local guys like Philippe in Bogota, because we need to adapt the product, the experience, to the local knowledge, both for local creativity community and the audience.
So your approach is keeping the Sonar integrity, finding the right partners locally to manifest that integrity in the new market without necessarily bringing in the big guys and their money and their global sort of reach. Is that something that either you've been offered or interested in, and why have you not decided to go down that route if you are?
Because we are a small company and we have the pleasure of making these personal decisions, yeah.
That's great. So regardless, whether you decide to develop a brand your own or look towards expanding and creating sort of a global footprint like, you know, festivals like EDC are, I think what's most important is year-round marketing, and you touched upon this a little bit. Now, with technology, social media, mobile apps for sure. Now you mentioned that the same amount of people who downloaded the festival, the app for the festival actually attended. I'm sure a lot of it was doubled up. But mobile apps allow people to quote-unquote experience not the festival, but the content coming from the festival. Can you talk about maybe some of your practices for year-round marketing that keep some of your clients sort of top of mind, not just in the actual demographic in the audience, but with respect to other artists, you know, other artists that may be playing competing festivals and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So maybe just pick up on one thing from the previous point. I mean, in the UK, we see a lot of the big corporations moving into the live space for festivals, electronic festivals especially, which is something which we major in. And I think it's interesting that most of our clients have tended to be more on the independent side. Promoters who've built festivals up from like zero, and I think interestingly, a thing that can be a telling factor as to whether these bigger organizations succeed with entering into the market space is how well they adapt to using social media, the kind of tone of voice that they can deploy in a campaign to attract and convince festival goers that they are legitimate and they are authentic and they are believable and that they will put on a real festival experience that fans want to go to. So I think that is a really, really important factor in whether they are successful or they're not. And I see examples of wins and losses in that area. So just to kind of just put a full stop on that one. In terms of a year-round approach, I think it's a truism that anybody who's a brand or a music artist in the social age, we say, everybody's in the publishing business. So it's the same as if you run Mixmag or Rolling Stone or Marsa, in Spain. Everybody is in the publishing business, whether you've got a Twitter profile, a Snapchat, a YouTube channel, and the opportunity is there. If you have maybe 5 events in a year, you have 1 event in the year to engage with the audience that you build, and certainly a successful social strategy, we would say, is not about always pushing your brand. It's obviously very much about pushing your brand, but it's a lot of other things as well. And I think Fuji Rock or Sonar, I have a perception of both of those events because of what my friends have told me and what I see on social media, what people share from their experiences, what I see in the media. And I think social allows each of these brands to deploy the content that's created at the weekend, whether that's a photo, whether it's video content, whether it's content that emanates from the artists. And there's opportunities to use those in a smart way across the year to keep fans engaged. And that's in an attempt ultimately to sell tickets, but it's also an attempt to build the brand. So, Sonar, absolutely, you've got to continually think that everything I'm doing is either building or potentially damaging, if things go wrong, the brand, and that's got to underpin all of that communication strategy. Technology and social media is absolutely, it's about, if you're a brand selling tickets, if you're a promoter, it's about selling tickets, it's about a communication strategy, it's about engaging that fan base, it's about keeping yourself ahead of the competition, because we know that promotions, I don't know how many people in this audience are promoters or the media or people in the music industry generally, promotions is a cutthroat business. If you don't have the best social media strategy, I'm sure there's somebody snapping at Sonar's heels, maybe not in a direct way, Fuji. There's no opportunity to be complacent as a promoter, and you need to use social and technology in order to do that. And we would always evangelize about using 365-day-a-year strategies to do that.
And there's 2 things that come to mind. I want to kind of go back to both of you. There's let's use 2 examples. One, Insomniac, EDC, and All Tomorrow's Parties and what happened with Jabberwocky. Now you got 2 examples of Insomniac that's doing just what you're talking about. They are creating this massive, it's already launched, this massive portal, EDM portal, where you can go to the website, you can experience all their festivals, you can experience content, you can interact with artists, you can do whatever you want. It's a freaking playground, right? And it's good and bad in a lot of things. It's good because of what we were talking about earlier, great content and I can experience. It's bad because it's what these 2 gentlemen were talking about, it's starting to happen. EDC Day 3 in New York and Day 3 in London were both canceled because of poor ticket sales. Now, we can talk about pushing content before the festival as much as we want and sort of forcing it down people's throats in order to sell tickets. And then we can talk about the globalization approach that EDC and Insomniac have taken, where they want a footprint in all the major markets. Vegas, Orlando's coming up in a couple weeks. Let's connect it all with one big portal, and then hopefully that's going to sell more tickets. Well, it's not. And then you also look at what happened with All Tomorrow's Parties in Jabberwocky and the sort of the crisis communication of what social media is. A lot of people didn't find out that festival was canceled until like they already bought their tickets, they already bought their train tickets, they're already going to the UK for it. So it was a nightmare. So, what's that? It was canceled way too late, and people didn't know that it was canceled because of maybe poor social media practices. So I think that the points that you guys have made are very interesting because your two festivals are your two festivals, and no one's going to mess with them. And you guys have built your brand, you've built your audiences, you guys are always going to sell tickets. Now, I think that the way the approach the Insomniac is taking is a little dangerous because as that sort of bubble bursts, people are going to go back to their marquee festivals. So I think that's a really good point of balancing the two. I'd like to move on to a few other topics, specifically staying in tech and ticketing and mobile. Perhaps you guys can talk about any existing mobile strategies that you're doing and how mobile ticketing partners like Eventbrite are possibly coming into play if they are, if not. Maybe we can start with you.
Mobile strategy, I mean, obviously, first window is it's mobile. I mean, nobody, probably our kids are not having a laptop and they are knowing our festival through a mobile window, so all your websites, everything needs to be mobile friendly, that's for sure, and everything needs to come to a ticket sales, right? So we are around in a kind of a discovery mode. I mean, every year I try to new partners, new developments, trying to find out what's the best way to approach my audience, because my audience is not a fixed audience. I mean, we have been in business for 22 years, so imagine that there are people who are coming to our festival who were not here when it began. So every year I need to make sure that I introduce my brand to new audience, and so it's an ongoing effort. And these new people who is coming, they are on mobile, so the mobile strategy, it's a working process. At least for me, I don't have a clue whatsoever. I'm trying to find out every year what's next, what's working or not, without, I have to say, without too many stress. I'm a little bit laid back in technology. We use it, but we don't want to have the latest iPhone 6 Plus, whatever. I mean, if one thing works, don't change it. Sure. But don't be afraid about new technologies. I mean, we are trying to discover new things without the stress of have to be in the latest technology.
Has the mobile strategy helped in the Latin American market?
Yeah, I think totally. We are actually like kind of like shifting from our concentration in internet to what is going on the mobile part, because yeah, I mean everyone knows the kids are like sticking to their mobiles without like going to the actually a computer screen and stuff. So that's why we began with the app, for example, and we did like a strategy for 3 years with Green Cooper to really like work on a proper app that can like develop as also like the kids' minds are developing in a way. And in the ticketing side, it's for us and has been for us like very important. We are stuck in our traditional way of like selling the tickets, because our partner is like the biggest ticketing company in Colombia. They have been building up the whole like technology thing also inside them, because there's new kind of like global things like going on that want also like to come to Colombia to do their businesses. But we're stuck there. We have been growing the internet sales a lot. The first year, they weren't more than 10 to 15% of the sales of the festival. This year, we sold 29% of the tickets through the internet. The year before, we sold more than 40%, but that has really something to do because of it was more people, or this year we had more people like going into the festival. And this year, we've sold, without giving the lineup out, we've sold 5,000 tickets, and from those 5,000 tickets, we sold 60%, or a bit over 60% through the internet. Sure. So that's something that we for sure will rely on in the future. I don't know. I mean, the other guys, if they stick to the traditional way of selling tickets, but we are like beginning to sell, for example, with a Spanish company called Atrápalo, which is basically all in terms of internet. We had until now a good experience in only being on internet and not like selling tickets through physical places. Sure. So I mean, yeah, it's for sure a key point to us also, like in Latin America, which is for sure being built up for years in the other countries.
We talked about a couple of things. I mean, obviously with technology and branding festivals, you got three main points that we talked about. Social media, important no matter how you slice it. Content, important to more people than others, and obviously mobile strategy. I want to open up to the audience as we're kind of running out of time, but just one quick thing that I think one tech platform that sort of brings it all together is Eventbrite. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are using Eventbrite, but Eventbrite, certainly in the States, has gotten a lot of success of being the ticketing platform for major festivals like Glastonbury and Voodoo and Snow Globe coming up, and they've got about 100 major festival properties that they're the official ticketing platform for. And what they're doing with all that data is they're basically creating a social network of festivals based on ticketing, so that festivals
That's a
can
good
then
thing.
now
They are creating, right? So you said they are creating.
They are, exactly.
Well,
that might be the problem, exactly. So I can't wait for you to comment. So Eventbrite essentially is bringing all the festivals together in a ticketing way, but then new festivals are partnering with Eventbrite because they can then use that database to market to. That goes back to the globalization and kind of keeping everything the same. Go.
No. I mean, we could talk about ticketing for ages. I think there are people in the ground that they know a lot. I think, well, we develop our own ticketing platform. We still work with good friends and good partners, but I think ticketing, they need to be a marketing tool for us. If they are like a bank, they are the PayPal of the world. I mean, they doesn't bring any value whatsoever. So I think there is a whole thing ticketing needs to go.
What they're doing, I mean, you're absolutely right. What they're doing is they're throwing out a lot of money to get that access. So they'll come to festival and be like, here's a couple $100,000. We want to do the ticketing, and then the idea is to build that community.
Surely Glastonbury, don't you have to buy tickets from Glastonbury? You have to register with Glastonbury Festival, put your name down, give them your social security number, everything, all that information, and then you'd be lucky to get a ticket. Yeah.
Same with Coachella, same with others. So, so we've got about
social buying. I mean, the good thing is I think nobody goes alone to a festival. So I think technology brings these things like.
That's a good point.
I mean, knowing that you are planning to come to Sonar in Barcelona, I mean, I'm sure a couple of friends from New York will join that trip. So going to a festival is a very social activity by its nature. So as much as we can bring this social activity to the network, that will be very helpful for us. That's a must. I think we need to develop more techniques to increase that social aspect on everything that we are doing.
Can I just throw in one quick thing?
Please.
I think one of the interesting aspects about the festival market, I think there's an amazing panel here when we got especially two of the biggest festival brands in the world. And one insight that I would want to share is I think that if you're a new festival launching into the market, you're probably going to have quite a different strategy to one of the big legacy brands and one of the big names, and they will take quite a different approach in terms of what is a technology or social media approach from the brand out, but also, as you know, Philippe's talking about apps that fans use that are engaging and interesting and encourage sharing, and certainly the new festivals will want to gobble up and use those things, maybe have a much more aggressive marketing strategy in order to get established and to get market share. We've launched a ton of festivals, whether it's like Hideout in Croatia, Wilderness in the UK, We Are Festival in the UK, but we've got 2 new festivals internationally we're launching in the next 12 months, and their approach is actually quite different. Not to say one is right or wrong, but if you're a legacy brand against a new festival, you're going to have want and probably need a very different strategy.
Do we have any questions?
I just want to say one thing before we move on to the questions. Very important for major festivals like mine and Lollapalooza and others. If you don't have the headliners, you haven't got a festival.
Yep.
So it's really, really down to not about how you sell your festival, but who you book.
Thank you. Real quick, that is a great point. No matter what we're talking about on stage, it's all about the music.
Headliners.
It's all about the music.
It's both, isn't it?
100%.
Hello, my name is Ethan. I'm working for Glonet, global RFID provider. And well, first of all, I really thank you for the conversation. It was really insightful, the feedback that you gave about festivals all over the world. And my question, as we have been talking about technology and how to better engage audiences worldwide, I think we are missing a point, and is how to amplify the experience and the music experience of festivals goers within the festival, right? We know that the internet connection in music festivals is really limited, and as Ventura said, there is magic, and people love to share the magic. So why then should we facilitate them how to share that magic in an easy and comfortable way? So my question for you guys is, how do you see the future of festivals of NFC, RFID technology in terms of access control, cashless, and amplifying and being able to measure what your audience is doing and what they are saying, and how to actually better know your audience so that you can provide a more customized and your little baby, get the best of it. Thank you.
I want to say a quick thing, just because I just came back from Austin City Limits, and they rolled out the cashless system. You're talking about the bracelet, right, where you basically pay for everything. My take on that is that's about money. I don't think they're necessarily trying to make the experience better. I think if I don't have to pull out cash, that means I didn't spend anything. It's more about impulsive buying for me, and maybe that's a very cynical approach. But I really do feel like that's the ultimate goal, is to, yeah, fine, you're not spending cash and it's a little safer. But that's really about, let me buy one beer, let me get another one. I didn't pay it. All I did was I swiped my wrist, and then later on I get the credit card bill. So I think it's a good part of cashless system, but maybe I'm just being a little cynical about it, which is a good thing.
We only have cash at Fuji.
Let me take that one insight. I mean, if I knew what was going to happen, I wouldn't be running a marketing agency. I'd go and make the billions from what it's going to become. But one insight that we picked up this year. So the show that we did in New York last week was above and beyond at Madison Square Garden, and we. We're always trying to look for the next thing. We don't know if it's going to work. We like to take a few risks where we can. And we partnered with Samsung to trial some new virtual reality technology. So this is all about the content capture and how we repurpose that and broadcast that. And that was really, really fascinating for us. And that's something that we're going to be looking into more and more. And will that have an impact in 2015? Maybe a little bit. I'd be very excited if it takes off. So for us, that's something that we're starting to really, really look into.
Any other questions? Are we that boring? There's one back there.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with the previous question, in a sense, not so much maybe focused on cashless, but what I've sort of missed in the discussion today is it seems like it's been more a discussion about using new technology to promote your festival after the fact, where I think, as Ventura said, the creating the magic, being innovative, being unique. For example, like Lowlands in Holland, I know you can get a massage there. You can go to a sauna. There's a cinema. You get a newspaper every day, and every year they seem to be inventing new fun stuff to make a better experience. And as a result, they sometimes sell out within 5 hours, while the headliners are not even known yet. So the question is basically, how do you see using new technologies to improve basically the experience at the festival, which I think then will later work in a sort of a viral way to promote your festival better than any social media could do, or any social media campaign you initiate yourself could do, because then it's a campaign that's initiated basically by your festival goers, who I think are probably better capable of selling tickets for your next year than you are yourselves.
Just to clarify, is your question how is technology used at the actual festival to increase the experience?
Yes, how do you see using new technology to, not so much to promote your festival after the fact, but during the event itself, to create more magic, to have less queues, to be more efficient, to have less people waiting in line to buy a beer.
Sure. Can I take
Please.
this one? I think going to a festival, I mean, one of these things that make one festival different from the other, besides the lineup, it's the proposition, but also silly things like not queuing in a bar, having clean bathrooms, if you're not in Glastonbury, be able to walk around, to watch the shows in a decent way, and we are taking a lot of time thinking those type of things. Obviously, our users have changed a lot in this more than 20 years, and people are more used to go to festival or to urban festivals, so they are demanding having a great Wi-Fi in their mobiles and so on. So we need to provide those things to our customers, and because our area of expertise in what we do at Sonar is creativity and technology, we try to provide shows that incorporates technology at its core, whether it's Despacio or it's Ryoichi Keda or whatever, but we need to go a little bit beyond the expectations of our customers, and every year we need to get away from our comfort zone. That's our mission, is try to surprise our audience year by year. And as you said, I mean, the best ambassadors are our customers, and the word of mouth, it's the most incredible selling tool that everyone has.
I think this is a good extension on what you just said, is that finding partners or people that help, kind of think out the box. A lot of that is, for a good reason or not, is sponsor driven. So you've got brands like, we did 2 activations, one at Lollapalooza with AT&T. And this is right when SMS was getting big in the States. And I know we're a couple of years behind you guys, but in the States in 2007, 2008, SMS was getting really big. And we did a campaign with AT&T at Lollapalooza where you can do band chat and you can do scavenger hunts. So I got a text message saying, go meet, I think it was like, drop the line, one of the DJs, and go get an autographed CD and then bring it over to the merch and bring it over to this. A lot of brands are using Bluetooth technology and mobile apps. We did a campaign with Steve Aoki and HBO, where you can download an app and get a chance to interact with Steve and go backstage and hang out with him. So I do think a lot of that on-site interaction is also tied to sponsors, because they have the money and the sort of bandwidth to think of other things.
But I mean, the most important thing for sure in tech related to the experience in the festival are the common things. I mean, yeah, not having to do a big queue. How do I get perhaps to pay easier? I mean, but those things are for every single festival in the world in the future a must. Wi-Fi in the festival for sure, but I don't know, perhaps it's even better than we don't have, like, for example, Wi-Fi in the future in a festival, so we don't have to concentrate in technologies in the festival. I mean, we deeply believe on the romantic way to see the shows, and I would say if we have too many technologies in our hands, we're gonna lose even the experience on the field. We are not speaking with the kids. We're not speaking beyond our near people, because we're trying to get a tweet out to the world. And I don't know. I would say we should get together with the festivals in a way, find the way that every single festival has the technology they deserve to be easier for everyone. But at the end, it is all about the organic things that we can create and the unique things that we can create. For sure, for Sonar, the technology is obvious. You have to go through that path, and kids are expecting to have the technology things. But on the other festivals, I would say Fuji and ours, we have to have huge sculptures. I don't know, beautiful things that people can even
Look at
touch.
Burning Man.
touch outside the cloud, no?
The Guggenheim today, I'd like some of those at Fuji Rock
Yeah,
Festival.
exactly.
The Anish Kapoor thing. I'd love that kind of stuff, you know, the tulips, and that's the sort of thing we need. You need to share that with the people. You need to get them off the mobile phones and get them to smell and to feel it and to experience that amazing art.
There is a middle ground. You look at what Burning Man has done. I mean, you go there, you experience it, and then when everyone goes back to their city,
then they tweet it.
They tweet, and there's content galore. So that's a really good point. And you know, I think that on-site technology is important for crisis communication. When shit hits the fan and you gotta let everyone know, look, there's a storm coming in, you gotta leave. And then maybe a little bit more than that, and the rest should be up to the experience. I completely agree.
You use the old megaphone for that one.
Yeah,
Whatever,
exactly.
please decide now.
Take cover. I think we have time for one more question. Go back there.
So we did I checked on who was actually looking at the Fuji Rock Express reports and who was actually looking at the photos and reading the reports. Turns out 60% of the people are in Shibuya in Tokyo. There you go.
Hi.
Walking around Shibuya with a mobile phone checking us out. Nice. 60%. Now they should all be at the festival. That would make me feel happier.
Send them a tweet. Tell them to come out.
Well, my question was about that precisely, that we have been talking about using social media to expose your brand and sell tickets. And I was wondering if you're using it also like a crowdsourcing and to really know what your audience are and what they're thinking, why they are going to the festival. Maybe they don't even like the music. Maybe they just want to be with their friends in a good place, whatever, and be fashion. And you know, every festival has like their own personality, and I was wondering if you specifically are looking for that information out in the network.
Certainly, any festival we are working at, the first thing that we're doing is we're looking at how many people are using the hashtag, what are the photos people are uploading, what's the amazing content, and that's where all the best, not all the best content, but a lot of the best content is going to come from. And then we want to share that and get people engaging about it. And so, yeah, 100%.
Thank you, everyone.